last topic, we're going to talk about Escondido. And there was an article here in the Union Tribune, and this was from January 15th, so it's pretty recent. And it was titled, "What's Being Built in Escondido?" It's just, I mean, it's going on everywhere, friends. And the locals are angry. But see, isn't it funny too? Because on one hand, the we have a huge homelessness crisis. And homelessness is a very multi-dimensional problem. I mean, we could talk about housing prices and housing availability. We could talk about income. We could talk about PTSD. A lot of our veterans are coming back from wars with PTSD and struggling. We could talk about addiction issues. I mean, we could talk, a lot of people have bad luck, lost their job. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people are homeless. But one of the reasons is that housing's too expensive. And the reason it's too expensive is there's not enough housing units. And so now when communities want to build more housing units, then people get angry. Oh, there was a really good line. I think I want to find this one. It was in the university's city plan. And yeah, here it is. In the university city plan, one of the objectors said, the city's grand plan for University City will benefit just three parties: members of the development community eager for more small, unaffordable, luxury, high-rise units that rent for $4,000 a month and up. Well, yeah, they're going to profit. Of course they are. Developers are going to make money when housing is built. The second group that she said is going to benefit from housing expansion in University City is UC San Diego, which has continued to increase enrollment without building enough on-campus student housing to keep up. Well, yeah, they are going to benefit too. But granted, they're aggressively trying to build on campus to hopefully catch up. And the third group, she said, is the mayor and the administration, which will take in more money from building permit fees and increase property taxes while amply rewarding developers for their support in past and future political campaigns. Yeah, that's true too. And we saw a ton of that in the Poway elections just recently, where developers donating money directly to candidates or indirectly through PACs to get to, kind of stroke the politicians so they'll approve their housing development plans so they can build. But there's a fourth one that's not even mentioned that's going to benefit from all the housing. And it's the person that moves into the housing, the family that gets a roof over their head. They're the ones that are going to develop, they're going to benefit from the housing as well. We don't ever hear that. And so I think rather than trying to come up with a whole bunch of so-called affordable housing units that are subsidized by taxpayers, or other kinds of affordable housing that are mandated on developers who will then, allocate 2 or 3 units as affordable housing, well, what they end up doing is just maximizing the price they get for the other homes. So the right way to do this is to use the market and supply and demand, build more housing units that will dampen prices, in many cases, lower prices, when renters and home buyers have more choices in a competitive marketplace. So what's Escondido doing? Let's take a look, because they've got a whole bunch of plans as well. Now, one of them is Palomar Heights. And this is going to be a mixed-use project with 510 residential units, including rental apartments and for-sale row homes and villas. The development, most of which is acquired last year by Greystar Property Management, will include a bodega-style market, collaborative workspace, restaurant, and a 4th-floor sky bar lounge. Now, where this is being built is in Escondido at the site of the former Palomar Hospital. That was that old hospital just east of that Grand Avenue strip. And gosh, I spent a week in that hospital, like about 20 years ago. So they built a brand new Palomar Hospital over on the other side of the freeway, over by Stone Brewing. But that old hospital, they blew it out and they're putting in housing. So it's going to be 510 units there. And I think this is pretty exciting. This article largely quoted a guy named Adam Feinstone, who's the Escondido city planner. So they got this whole Palomar Heights project, and it's right there by that Grand Avenue. Have you ever gone on Grand Avenue in Escondido? It's great. I mean, there's a lot of really neat little restaurants, neat little stores and shops along the way. My mom lives in Escondido, and so sometimes we'll take her out to lunch there. It's a neat place to go visit. And I know they have a lot of like cruising on Grand. I think they do, car shows on some of the nights there. And it's got a cool outdoor dining vibe. So now, they're going to build more housing right next door to all that. That'll all be in walking distance. So I think that's exciting for the city of Escondido. They're also talking about transforming that Sears store in the Westview shopping plaza, the shopping mall, and transforming the Sears store into a Costco. I think it's a good idea too. People's shopping behavior has changed radically, right? As we are doing more online shopping. I mean, when I go, I love Costco, by the way. And whenever I go into a Costco, it's jam-packed. There are unlimited customers seemingly for Costco. But still even a lot of people order online from Costco, and we do that as well, and they'll deliver to your house. But they just pick and pack off the shelves in the store. I think that would be a great way to revitalize that mall. Now, granted, I've always often thought that a lot of those shopping malls could easily be converted into housing, especially senior housing. So they have their own sort of contained indoor village. That would actually be really cool. But then imagine they already have a Target there, and then they have a Costco. You can get all the goods and services that you need there. That could work out really well. But even without the housing idea to it, I think that's a positive idea that they're considering. I don't think it's been approved yet, but I think it's in conversation. Then there's another project they're talking about in Escondido, and it's called Harvest Hills. And it's a 550 unit residential project that would stand on a vacant 1,100 acre site north of the San Diego Zoo Safari Park and east of the Eagle Crest Golf Course. So they're talking about, over 500 units downtown, over 500 units out there by the, what was known as the Wild Animal Park, now the Safari. And for that project, that Harvest Hills project, the developer is proposing building a new fire station out there, and new emergency evacuation roads, because that's usually a very common objection to the locals that resist change. Now, what about the fires? So the developer will kind of package that in, and good on the developer for doing that. So this Harvest Hills project is currently in the entitlement phase, so they're going through the approval process. But to me, that's exciting. Now, in Escondido, there's another one planned. The North County Transit District has, they have a transit center there. If you've seen it, it's kind of sort of just west of that whole Grand Avenue downtown area. And in that spot, they've got, where the buses show up there, and it's a kind of a legit transit hub. So now they're proposing on redeveloping that and mixing housing and a lot of additional commercial opportunities there. There would be residential housing, restaurants, retail shops, and a transportation hub for transit riders, cyclists, and pedestrians. And they're out actively soliciting requests for proposal for this. So this is all consistent with this idea of building more housing around these transit hubs. To me, this is a very interesting idea. Now, we can debate the efficacy of public transportation in San Diego, which right now is weak. I think they have this utopian vision that it's going to be a much better idea down the road. I have questions about it. We'll see what happens. I mean, they want to spend a ton of money, Sandag, to put in this, this futuristic transportation infrastructure. I have my doubts because I told you, I'm a fan of electric vehicles, autonomous EVs that can transport people in as individualized pods, or that can synchronize into a computer-controlled swarm and can travel efficiently as a group. To me, that's the future. It's like what Wayne Gretzky said, you don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where the puck is going. And I think light rail is old technology. Autonomous EVs is the future. But set aside that, the plan in San Diego throughout the county is to build more housing units, more high density housing around these transit hubs. And what they're doing is they're saying, we will relax parking requirements. We may even relax some of the square footage minimums to allow even higher density living in some of these places. To me, that is a good idea because we're giving people more housing units, more inventory, and thus a more competitive marketplace. And you're doing it in a mixed use environment where there hopefully are jobs that are nearby. And then if the transportation initiative for public transportation is delivered according to their plan, then you've got a way to get around. But even if it's not, there are still ways to get around now, even if you don't have a car, because all these places won't have parking. So it's not realistic to own a car. But see, as a city becomes more and more urban, like the city of San Francisco, less and less people have cars because there's a lot of alternative ways to get around. And it's not just buses. I mean, we already have Uber and Lyft that can get us around. Imagine autonomous EVs that could get us around. Imagine people working from home with high-speed internet connections, not having a commute. And having higher density living makes sense. Because, in San Diego County, we're running out of dirt to build on. And so in order to maximize the available property, they're going to have to build higher density and taller buildings to make it work. And that's what they're talking about doing here at this mobility hub at the North County Transit District Transportation Center there in Escondido. And did I say it was west of the Grand Avenue? It might be kind of north, if I recall. I may have said that wrong. I think it's north of Grand Avenue. So dense housing such as that proposed for the transit center could help Escondido meet its state-imposed target of accommodating 9,400 additional housing units. This was a point that was debated here in Poway about whether the Sacramento officials were mandating that certain cities build a minimum number of units. And I know that's been debated back and forth. I don't know the exact answer to that, but this is brought up here, and here it's brought up where Escondido has to build 9,400 units so they can satisfy a chunk of that in this sort of higher density housing near the North County Transit District hub. They got the two other developments on planned. The one right next to, the one where Palomar Hospital used to be, and then the Heritage Hills that hasn't quite been approved. But together, those are only about 1,100 units. And if they got to build 9,400, I mean, they got a lot of work to do. So that high density near the transit hub makes a lot of sense. The city of Escondido is also streamlining the process for building accessory dwelling units, ADUs or granny flats, on existing properties, and is even creating pre-made building plans that homeowners can use for free. This is good too. Because especially in Escondido, a lot of people have property. A lot of people could easily build a 1,000 square foot or 800 square foot standalone building on part of their property and make it available for a renter. Absolutely. That's definitely doable. And it gives existing property owners an opportunity to monetize their property, which I think is great. But it's more people. I mean, there might be more street parking. Maybe some of these property owners have space to accommodate parking on their property, but in some cases, there'll be more people parking on the street. But again, it's just all part of this transformation that we're all going through. And a lot of locals really want to make it stop. They want to put their finger in the dike. But, at some point, you can't hold back the change that's going on all around us. So Finestone, the Escondido city planner went on to say, we're looking at ways to increase housing on a small scale because every bit helps. So, wow, that's a lot, isn't it? I mean, it's just a lot of housing issues that are going on in San Diego County. And, when you talk about local news, there's a number of categories of local news. There's obviously crime issues. There's politics, a lot of political things going on, which I enjoy covering as well. But housing is a very hot button issue in communities all throughout the county. I mean, they're talking about putting affordable housing in Del Mar on the Ocean Bluffs. Imagine that. They're talking about, well, they have underway. They started a new affordable housing project in Oceanside. And Oceanside's got a bunch of plans for more housing out there as well. Um, there is a need for more housing. San Diego says housing should be a right. I disagree. A right is something that gives you as an individual freedom to take action in a social context, like your right to your own life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, like a right to free speech. But a right doesn't mean you can infringe on the rights of someone else. When you make housing a right, what that really means is that other people need to provide it and pay for it because it's a right, because you can demand it. But even the city of San Diego is sort of backing off. They're saying, oh, it's aspirational. I wish they wouldn't call it a right because it dilutes the meaning of what rights are. And rights are righteous, as they say. So we've got a housing crisis. We need more housing. More housing is going to make housing more affordable overall. More housing is going to partially help out the homelessness crisis. More housing is going to help businesses grow and businesses provide better products and services for the customers that they serve, including the customers in their local communities. More housing is going to provide a greater quality of life overall. But more housing will create disruption in people's lives. More housing will be a change in a lot of these communities. And every community is gripping with this in San Diego County. So what's the answer? Get on board. Try to, try to fight this tooth and nail the whole way. I think if you try to fight this, you're going to lose. In my opinion, if you want a community that doesn't change, or you want to live in that sort of single family home residential community like South University City is today, and you want to hold on to that, that's going to be tough. It's really going to be tough. It may require moving to another part of the county, another part of the state, maybe even another part of the country to enjoy that lifestyle. Because the fact is that San Diego is becoming more urban. San Diego has a lot more economic growth that we've experienced in the last few decades, and a lot more coming, which means more people, more growth, more jobs, and there needs to be a place for all these people to live. And at the same time, it's going to be a way to make it more affordable for people to buy. I mean, how many of us are homeowners now and we have children and we wonder how in the heck could our kid ever come up with a down payment to buy a house in San Diego County where the median price is what, 800,000, 850? I mean, that's a tall order. That's why more housing units need to be built, and we will get smaller units, more affordable units, a variety of options, more competition, and ultimately lower prices. I know you may agree with me. I know you may disagree with me. Let me know in the comments.